You've sent over some really interesting stuff here about Salesforce CPQ templates. And to be honest, I'm kind of excited to dive into this.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of, potential for people who are dealing with sales quotes. Like this is kind of like a secret weapon kind of thing.
It is.
And so our goal here today is to take everything that you've sent over and kind of try to break it down into something that's really, easy to understand.
Yeah.
And really useful for folks who are trying to kind of, improve their quote process.
Sure.
So we're specifically looking at quote templates within Salesforce CPQ.
Yes.
So that's the configure price quote part of Salesforce.
Right.
And this is really interesting because it seems like a really great way to create these really professional and consistent quote documents.
It's the best way within Salesforce to do that.
So what is a quote template in Salesforce CPQ?
You can kind of think about it like a blueprint for your quote document.
Okay.
So if you were building a house,
Right.
you wouldn't just start throwing bricks together.
No, you need a plan.
You'd have a blueprint.
Right.
So this quote template
Okay.
is essentially the blueprint for your quote document.
Gotcha.
It provides the structure and defines what information you're going to present to your customer.
Okay, so it's more than just making it look nice. It's actually
Yes.
controlling what data goes into the quote.
Exactly. It controls the entire structure of the quote document.
Okay.
And it's made up of a number of key components.
Okay.
The first thing I want to talk about is template sections.
Yeah.
And this is one of the coolest parts about it.
Right.
So you can define different areas within your quote document.
Okay.
So you might have a header section for your company logo and contact information.
Right.
You'd have a section for your product line
Nice.
items,
Oh, yeah.
where all the products and services that you're selling are going to be listed. You'd have a section for maybe a total cost breakdown or a summary of the quote.
Right.
And then maybe a final section for any legal terms and conditions.
Okay, so it's kind of like, you're saying blueprint. It's kind of like different rooms in the house.
Exactly.
And each room has a different function.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
So next up, we
Okay.
have line columns.
Line columns.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a really simple concept,
Right.
but it's incredibly powerful.
Okay.
So this controls what data fields
Okay.
from your quote line items actually appear on your quote document.
Okay.
So you can choose whether or not to display your product name.
Oh, yeah.
You can choose whether or not to display the description of the product,
Right.
the quantity.
Okay.
You can control the unit price.
That's
It discounts all of that stuff.
Okay.
It's controlled by line columns.
So you can choose, if there are fields that are relevant to your internal processes,
Yeah.
but maybe aren't important for the customer to see.
Right.
You can just, not show them those.
Absolutely. You don't need to overwhelm your customer with all these different fields that they don't need to see.
Right. They don't care about your internal product codes or anything like that.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So then how do you control the actual text and the descriptions and stuff?
So for that, we have something called template content.
Okay.
And this is where you can embed HTML directly into your quote template.
Okay.
So you can add things like a nice introduction
Yes.
to your proposal,
Right.
or you can have detailed descriptions of your services.
Gotcha.
You can even add custom messaging if you're running a promotion.
Okay.
And one of the really cool things about template content is that you can actually translate it.
Wait, so you mean if I have a customer who speaks Spanish,
Yes,
the template can show them the custom text in Spanish?
exactly.
Oh, wow.
So this is a key aspect of localization,
Okay.
and it allows you to create a much more personalized and professional experience for your international clients.
Right, because, if you're getting a proposal and it's in your native language,
Yeah,
that just feels so much more professional
absolutely.
than just getting, a document in a language you don't understand.
It shows that you care about your customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else can we do with these templates?
So another feature is that you can include additional documents,
Okay.
and this allows you to attach additional PDFs to your quote.
So if I have product specs or
Yeah.
case studies or, terms and conditions,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can just attach those PDFs right to the quote.
Yeah, so instead of sending your customer multiple emails
Right.
with all these different attachments, you can just send them one quote document with everything they need.
Okay. That's really nice and clean.
And then finally, we have quote terms.
Okay. quote terms.
Yes, and this is where you're going to define the terms and conditions.
So that's like the legal stuff.
Yes, all the legal stuff
Okay.
is going to be stored in your quote terms.
Gotcha.
And there's a really cool feature here.
Okay.
So you can actually mark specific quote terms as locked.
Okay.
And what this does is it prevents any non-admin users from editing those terms.
Oh, so they can't accidentally change the legal language.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good thing to have.
So this is really important for ensuring consistency across all of your quotes.
Right.
And making sure that you're not accidentally sending out a quote with incorrect legal language.
Right. Nobody wants to get sued.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've talked about all these different components. So
Yeah.
you've got your, template sections to define the layout.
Right.
You've got your line columns to control what product data gets shown.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the template content for rich text and all the, the custom messaging.
Yes.
You can attach documents, and you've got the legal terms and conditions.
Yeah.
It sounds like a pretty robust system,
It is a robust system.
but I'm sure there's even more that we can do with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Salesforce CPQ offers a ton of customization and control over your templates. So one example of that is the conditional print field.
Okay.
And what this allows you to do is display information on your quote based on certain conditions.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say you only want to display a certain warranty clause
Okay.
if the customer purchases a particular product,
Okay.
or if the total value of the quote exceeds a certain amount.
Okay.
You can use a conditional print field to do that.
So it's like the template's actually adapting to the specifics of that quote.
Exactly. It dynamically changes.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And then there's another field called the group field.
Group field.
And it's very similar to the conditional print field,
Okay.
but it's used to control the display of information based on conditions that are related to a group of products.
Okay. So like if they buy a certain bundle of product.
Exactly. Then we're going to
Oh.
display this information.
Gotcha.
And then finally, we have the allow output format change setting.
Allow output format change.
Yeah, and this is a user level setting.
Okay.
So it's controlled on the user record.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is enabled,
Okay.
it allows users to change the output format of the quote document.
Oh, okay. So like if the standard is to generate a PDF,
Yeah,
they could also, generate it as a Word doc or something.
exactly.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit earlier about the language features.
Right.
And, you were talking about how you can translate some of this content.
Yeah.
So how does that actually work in Salesforce CPQ?
So Salesforce CPQ allows you to translate both your quote terms and your HTML template content.
Okay.
And when you do this, so let's say you translate your English quote terms into French and Spanish,
Okay.
the system automatically creates what are called localization records.
Localization records.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the background.
Okay.
So it handles all of the technical details of storing and managing these different language versions.
Okay. So I don't have to like manually create a bunch of different records.
Yeah, you don't.
It just kind of does it automatically.
Exactly.
Okay. And so how does it know which language to use when it's generating a quote?
So my sources don't actually specify the exact mechanism for how the system determines which language to use when it's generating the quote.
Okay.
But the important point is that the infrastructure for supporting multilingual quotes is built into, quote, templates.
Okay.
So there's a setting in Salesforce CPQ setup called Enable Multilanguage Translations. And when you enable this setting,
Right.
you're essentially activating this entire translation management system
Gotcha.
for your templates.
Okay.
So when you translate your, quote, terms and your template content, those translations are going to be available
Right.
when you're working with international customers.
Okay. So it's kind of setting the stage for that, localized experience.
Exactly.
Okay. So, just to kind of recap here, we've talked about how, quote templates in Salesforce CPQ are a lot more than just, making pretty documents.
Right.
It's really about having this really granular control over the information that you're presenting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, ensuring that your quotes are consistent.
Absolutely.
And it's also about, catering to a global audience.
Yeah.
So, for you, the listener, this means that you can have a much more professional
Yes.
and a much more efficient sales process.
Right.
You don't have to, sit there and manually piece together quotes anymore.
And risk-making errors.
Right. And risk-making errors.
Yeah.
You have a standardized professional output.
Yeah.
You can control exactly what information the customer sees.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a much clearer communication,
Right.
which hopefully leads to, faster deals.
Exactly.
And then, you've also got that really cool ability to tailor the content based on certain conditions.
Right.
Like, if they buy a specific product, they see a specific clause.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that really impresses customers.
It does.
And it really builds trust. And then the multilingual support, that's huge.
It is.
I mean,
Right.
you can reach a much wider audience. And it really shows that you're committed to understanding your international clients.
Yeah.
And speaking their language.
Absolutely.
So we've gone through a lot of this stuff today.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we've kind of illuminated how, quote, templates in Salesforce CPQ are a lot more than just templates.
They're a really powerful tool.
They're a really powerful tool.
Yeah.
And they can really impact your sales operations.
Absolutely.
So here's something to think about.
Yeah.
How could you overhaul your, quote, templates to really elevate your customer experience?
Right.
And to really, reinforce your brand identity.
Yeah.
Take a look at your current quoting process. Are there areas where you could improve clarity?
Right.
Are there areas where you could provide more relevant information?
Yeah.
Could you present things in a more professional way? This isn't just about saving time.
It's about making an impression.
It's about making an impression
Yeah.
on your customers.
Absolutely.
So this has been a really great overview,
It has.
but it really does just kind of scratch the surface
Right.
of what you can do with, quote, templates.
There's a lot more to explore.
So we encourage you to, really dig in,
Yes.
explore the features that we've discussed today, and think about how they can apply to your specific needs. This could really unlock some significant improvements
It could.
in your sales process and also in your customer interactions.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, this was great.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.